Jonathan Marshall does a great job covering hoops down there in Texas. A little recap of the NBA Finals. And we don't know if we'll be talking to him anymore because he got a nice little gig in Mississippi. We'll talk about that. But it's always good to catch up with Jonathan. What's going on, bud?
Hugh, I'm just trying to make moves like you, man. I'm just,
I don't know
just
about
trying
that.
to get on your level.
No. Let me tell you something. You don't have to go too far to get on my level. But appreciate it. Hey, listen. All right. Let's get into Game 7. Collapse or great effort by LeBron, or a little bit of both?
I would say a little bit of both. I mean, when you're talking about, a 3-1 series lead in the championship, you have a few chances to get it done on your home floor. When you talk about back-to-back MVP, the unanimous MVP this year, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson not being at their best. So, I mean, that was a huge part of it. But also, I mean, kudos to LeBron James. I mean, all year, a lot of talk about it. Can he get it done for the land? And, there were doubts on my part. I mean, I'll be the first to say I'm totally shocked that they got it done, especially being down 3-1. But LeBron James deserved his MVP award. I mean, with the block that he had on Iguodala late in the fourth quarter, I mean, he came up with some huge plays. And so you got to give credit to LeBron James for helping carry this team. And Kyrie Irving, too. I mean, Kyrie, let's not forget about what he's done throughout this series, pretty much outplaying Steph Curry each and every game in the final series, and he came up with that huge shot at the end of the game too. So, I mean, Kyrie Irving played a big part in that. So, a mixture of both. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson have to show up in that Game 7, but LeBron James and Kyrie, I mean, they did what they had to do, and they're big-time players, and they made those big-time plays.
Typically in the NFL, we talk about blueprints, how to stop offenses. When you look at the defensive blueprint that Cleveland laid out against Curry and Klay Thompson, was it more aligned that I was arguing with someone yesterday. They were talking about, they were being physical with him defensively. I think he was taken out of his game. Certainly, they were a little more physical with Curry. But look, they got a lot of clean looks. They just didn't knock it down. But more aligned, really not a two-parter, but was it more aligned, okay, the blueprint's kind of been laid out, or did we see Curry kind of get exposed a little bit?
I wouldn't say the blueprint has been laid out. I mean, the blueprint for when you're dealing with shooters, I mean, you want to make them uncomfortable. I mean, we saw that last year with Dellavedova and Steph Curry. I mean, you want to make these guys, you can't let Steph Curry and Klay Thompson just have a free reign out there behind the three-point arc. You want to, run them off the three-point line. So, I mean, the blueprint has always been there since basketball has been around. I mean, you got to make these guys uncomfortable. And they did a great job of that, but Steph and Klay had so many open shots. I mean, they were just off. If they knocked down more of those shots, we may be talking about a different result in this series. But, I mean, kudos to Cleveland for clamping down and not allowing those guys, when they had the opportunity, not allowing them to just have free reign. And it showed that Steph Curry mentally, and even Klay in some respect, I mean, they clearly weren't all there. Something was missing, and I got to think Cleveland's relentless defense in some ways was a huge part in that.
Something that I thought has gone unnoticed, really not talked about, I know it's still fresh 48 hours or so, is that to move that – just kind of it almost seemed like a systematical move where Tyronn Lue gave Kyrie Irving late that 1 minute, maybe 40-ish, maybe 2-minute breather. He was exhausted, but just kind of get his legs fresh for that late push. And then, of course, it culminates in the clutch three. I don't think he outcoached Kerr. I just don't think he made mistakes. And typically, if you don't make mistakes, we're not going to talk about it. And you did a good job as head coach.
I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, when I look back at this series, I wouldn't say, Tyronn Lue had his imprint on this series. I mean, it wasn't that. It wasn't obvious. When you look at this, you'll say LeBron and Kyrie. I mean, they had amazing moments. So that was the biggest thing. But like you said, I mean, Lue didn't. He made sure that he wasn't going to be the guy to blame. He did all he could to make sure he was pushing all the right buttons, what have you, during the game, making sure his guys are calm, making sure his guys are getting the correct rest, especially a guy like LeBron James, making sure he's okay. I mean, he did all the right things that he was supposed to make sure if they lose, he has, they can't point the finger at him. And so I think Lue did his part. But looking on it, I got to say this was strictly LeBron and Kyrie. When they go off for 40 points apiece, that's not coaching. That's just straight talent.
Really one more to kind of cap off the finals, then I want to get your thoughts on the draft on Thursday. Look, and you can call me out on this, and I have to change my stance now because what I saw from LeBron, that was missing, I saw it. He was just flat out assassin. He willed them. He brought the city of Cleveland a championship, the 52-year drought, blah, blah, blah. We all know it. Do you stick him and really just for more sports talk fodder, do you stick him now top 5 all time?
I would think he's in that conversation now. I mean, what we saw this past series was something that we've all wanted to see out of LeBron. I mean, he was just the man. He was the man out there. I mean, he utilized the gifts that he's been blessed with physically. I mean, he's 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", 260, 270, however much he weighs. And, I mean, he utilized all of his abilities out there. I mean, on both ends of the floor. We saw that great block, that's one of the more defining moments,
Sure.
I think, of his career, that block on Iguodala.
Yep.
I mean, that was amazing. And that just is just an example of this guy's talent. Not only can he, is he, a nightmare to defend on the offensive end, but defensively, I mean, how many guys are doing that? His head is touching the backboard. And this is late in the game when he's exhausted.
Yep.
So those are the things that we've been trying to see from LeBron, what we see from champions like a Larry Bird or MJ, or Bill Russell. Those are the type of things that we see from those guys late in the game, crunch time moments, mentally you're physically fatigued, but still coming up with the huge plays. That play right there, I mean, you got to put LeBron in that conversation. Top 10, I think that's solidified. I mean, that's no doubt.
It does appear as though the Sixers are going to draft Ben Simmons with the number 1 overall pick on Thursday's NBA draft. There's a couple of reports floating out. Again, he's been informed through various outlets. The argument's been Simmons, Ingram, Simmons, Ingram. I can make a case for both of them. There's only one little... And you might say I'm nitpicky here. I don't like the whole... I think he was so enthralled with the sneaker deal. I don't like the fact that he knew he was coming out of college and LSU didn't want to do anything in the postseason. I saw lapses defensively in games with him at times. Now, again, I can't speak to watching LSU every day. I think he's a great player. He can handle the rock. He can score. He can rebound. You can't pass up that talent. But if there is one con that you see, one negative, one drawback to Ben Simmons, what would it be?
I would say pretty much, I mean, we don't know how he's going to handle playing in an NBA city like Philadelphia. It's not an easy town to be a professional athlete. And the fans, they know basketball. They know the game of basketball, so you're not going to fool them. And you're not going to fool them with how you play. And if you're not giving that full effort, if you're not putting that work in out there on the court on a nightly basis, you're going to know about it. And at LSU, the college game, and he may have been protected a little bit in Baton Rouge. So how is he going to handle being a professional at 18, 19 years old, straight out of college as a freshman? That's the biggest concern for me. How is he going to handle that? Because the criticism is going to come. You're going to be on a team that's not going to be winning early on. So how are you going to handle that? We saw how Okafor in that situation this past season. So, how will Ben Simmons handle that first real taste of losing? And hearing his name on talk radio every day and in the newspapers and in the comment sections, how is he going to handle that? That's the biggest thing. I think on-court wise, I mean, this guy is a talent. I think you bring him in here and figure out the rest later as far as building pieces around this guy, but I think he's the best talent available in this draft, and if you're Philly, you got to take him. But how he handles the mental approach of the professional game, that's the biggest concern for me.
All right, Mr. Big Time. So you were my intern about what, maybe 7, 8 years ago? I mean, it flew by. I know you're an old man. So you got the job now.
No.
You got it. You got the job in Mississippi. What are you going to be doing? You're going to be anchoring TV down there, sports?
I'm making a move from print. I've done some radio, but I'm doing TV now. I'll be anchoring for down here in southern Mississippi. I'll be covering some southern Mississippi University sports.
Pony Express, SMU. What's the station? What's the call letters?
WDAM.
WDAM. All right. When's your first night on the air?
I actually was on. They threw me into the fire. I felt like James McAdoo in the finals last night. They just threw me out there. I know what McAdoo feels like when he went in there for the Warriors. I was just like, man, okay, coach, I'm ready. So, but I looked at the game film. I have some things to work on, so I got to put myself in a better position.
Yeah, all right, Andy. Hey, listen, it's all about camera angles too, right? You got to know what camera angle. Live TV is a different animal, and you know what? You'll handle it. You'll handle it. You got the charm. You got the panache, the good looks. Just remember now, one little tip. If there's one tip I can pass along to you, you have to go, if you go with striped suits, you have to go off-color, off-tilt light striped suits. Okay? Because typically, you really want to steer clear of solids on the air.
Really? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And you talk to the old school guys down there. That's all I can tell you.
Okay. All right. I mean, you may need to be my fashion expert, my stylist. I may have to come to my man Q.
We don't know
Q
about
stylings,
that.
Okay.
Hey, listen, I know we're going to keep getting you on with NBA stuff, but
sure.
congratulations, proud of you, pal. Well deserved. You worked hard for it. Real happy for you.
I appreciate it, Q.
All right, brother. Good luck. All right.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, you got it. Be well. Jonathan Marshall.